What's going on, chat? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Recon here, and today, fuck the usual intro. We have some serious shit to discuss. What the hell was that? I really shouldn't be surprised. If you've been watching the channel, you know how I feel about Jake Paul fights. I'll just be honest, bro. I don't trust these Jake Paul fights. And yes, that includes the second fight where Woodley got slept. Either you're a sheep and think the fight was real, which means a welterweight GOAT just got flatlined by a YouTuber, or you're a skeptic like me and think he's a massive sellout for accepting millions to take a dive. And while I've yet to face backlash on YouTube for that opinion, make no mistake, I've gotten a lot of shit in real life. Before last night, thinking Jake Paul fights are rigged was absolutely a minority view. Most people saw this fat YouTuber ripping through MMA champs, Golden Gloves winners, and former boxing elites and thought, nothing fishy here. If you're still in that boat, I can't take you seriously, and neither should anyone else. Let's just start with the very first round. Does anyone who watched it think for certain it wasn't rigged? If there was an agreement that Joshua isn't allowed to end the fight early, is that not exactly what it would look like? Jake Paul running around the ring with Joshua loosely tracking him but refusing to chase him down. This was just pathetic. There were a number of occasions when Jake Paul, because he's such an elite boxer, right, without prompting would just run himself into a corner, and Joshua would refuse to unload the clip. Now fast forward to a bit later in the fight. Those few clean shots Jake landed, I put clean in quotes, what did you notice? Joshua ate them like fucking sandwiches. They weren't even bee stings. Jake Paul couldn't hurt AJ if that moron was in there with a baseball bat. Do you not think Joshua knew that coming into the fight? Of course he did. Given that, if it were a real fight, he'd have little to no fear about opening up. He definitely wouldn't take a backward step every time Jake did his poor excuse for a feint. He wouldn't take a backward step, period. And John Fury, father of Tyson and Tommy Fury, by the way, the Love Island star who gave Jake his first loss, right, because Jake is so amazing. Before the fight, John Fury made the objectively correct point that everyone in combat media was too scared to.
You know, I wish Anthony all the best of luck. But Anthony, don't take a dive with this Jake Paul, mate. Do not do that, not for $1 billion, my pal. Don't do as the others have done. Anthony Joshua could knock Jake Paul out with his dick. If it goes any other way, you know it's fucking fixed, don't you?
People who understand the levels know a real fight between these two can only end one way, in a blink of the eye destruction. Anything else should raise massive suspicion. To all those who aren't suspicious about last night, I have news for you. It's your parents putting money under your pillow, not the tooth fairy. They're also the ones who leave gifts under the tree on Christmas, not some dude in a red coat from the North Pole. If this was a real fight, it would have looked like Deontay Wilder versus Charlie Zelenoff. That's a deep cut. For those unfamiliar, I'll summarize briefly. Charlie Zelenoff is an internet troll. He said some choice things about Deontay Wilder's disabled daughter, and then, because Zelenoff is fucking crazy, he challenged Wilder to an impromptu boxing match. He signed a waiver of liability beforehand and everything. Here's what happened next.
There you go, there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like when a world-class heavyweight doesn't fear what's coming back at him. He marches right at his opponent, unloads big shots, and destroys him in short order. A lot of people thought that would happen last night. The only problem is they were operating under the foolish assumption that this was a legitimate bout. Speaking of Deontay Wilder, he's another example of a rare public figure brave enough to tell the truth about this sham. He called it scripted in the lead-up and was proven absolutely right. And when we say it's scripted, we're not saying it's WWE. Although that comparison is actually more apt than most people realize, because guys get hurt in the WWE all the time. Just ask IShowSpeed. But yes, they're not purely acting. The guys are hitting each other. I mean, AJ hardly got touched, but Jake was getting hit with shots, some of which had some weight behind them. But how much was AJ holding back? I watched MMA Guru's stream the night of the fight and was honestly disgusted by the lies and deceit. He compared the final punch AJ landed in this fight to his KO of Helenius. Here's a side-by-side. Tell me if you notice a difference. Night and fucking day. Does anyone want to argue AJ's final punch on Jake had even 30% of the malice, 30% of the bad intentions, 30% of the thud AJ's KO of Ngannou had, it wasn't in the script to kill him. What was in the script was what I said literally weeks in advance, a late stoppage. AJ wins as he should, and Paul gets a lot of praise for lasting as long as he did. When they're planning all of this out, the question they ask is what's the best outcome for Jake that people will actually believe? And this was it. Let me address two counterpoints because I already know what the gullible among us will say. First, but rigging fights is illegal. Bold of you to think Jake Paul is above lawbreaking, that he's too good of a guy. He'd never do such a thing for hundreds of millions of dollars. But what about AJ? You don't think he's above doing something like this? I used to. Not anymore. It's boxing after all. I can tell a lot of people saying this stuff are MMA fans, or at least just don't know boxing. Because here's the truth. If you were writing the history of boxing, you'd need minimum an entire chapter dedicated to rigging fights. It's not just low-level guys trying to make a name for themselves like Mark Gastineau. You guys don't even know who that is. Even at the highest levels, the Sonny Listons of the world, fight fixing has been rampant. I know we all assume we're in a different era now. We've progressed. We're above that now. It doesn't happen anymore. Don't be so quick to assume, especially not after last night. The second counterpoint I want to address. How could it be rigged? Jake broke his jaw. Yeah, let's just take Jake Paul at his word, which is already a stupid idea, but let's do it anyway. He broke his jaw and will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Number one, that indicates a very minor jaw break. About as minor of a jaw break as you can have. Major ones put you out for months. You don't have to take my word for it. Google's your friend. Feel free to look up medical recovery timelines. Another thing, I mentioned the WWE earlier. No one argues those fights aren't scripted. You know WWE guys sustain major injuries all the time, right? It's theater, but there's a ton of physical risk involved. Jake is willing to take on that risk for ungodly sums of money, as would a ton of people. I can't tell you how many times in the lead-up I heard people say, well, I'd take $100 million to get my ass whooped by Anthony Joshua. Yet those same people turn around and cite the minor injuries Jake sustained as reason it couldn't be rigged. If you're willing to take those licks for $100 million, assume Jake is too. Since not one major voice in combat media is saying these things, I feel compelled to. I give credit to people like John Fury and Deontay Wilder for using their platform to call this farce what it is. But the commentary class has been totally co-opted. Every major analyst will continue trying to convince you to disbelieve your lying eyes and ears on this one. Don't fall for it. Think for yourself. Your gut is telling you this whole thing reeks. Trust that instinct. You have it for a reason. Accepting the truth about last night hasn't been easy for me. On the contrary, it's been especially difficult. Because here's something I've never shared on the channel. Before yesterday, AJ was far and away my favorite active boxer. Yes, more than Bivol, who I've made 2 videos glazing. I have a signed picture of AJ in my room with me right now. I adored the guy. Now, I'm not so sure. I've got a lot of thinking to do. But thank you guys for watching. I'm absolutely livid. And seeing your guy be complicit, it's like getting punched in the gut. No pun intended. Like and subscribe. Meeting adjourned. All right.